They say the ocean can be a cruel mistress, and in one of the funniest twists, it remains one of the most essential parts of our entire ecosystem. Covering 3/4 of the entire Earth's surface, the ocean is more than just a body of water. It is our primary source of water, a massive source of food, and even a channel for energy and power. For centuries, the ocean was the primary route for transportation. This means that for centuries, it has witnessed thousands of shipwrecks and mishaps, leaving a multitude of materials just lying beneath its surface. Myths and legends have long spoken about terrifying monsters that lay beneath the sea, and even though many of the sea's mysteries may well never be found, some have also been unearthed. In this video, we will take you on a journey of discovery, one which continues to startle everyone to this day, and one which proves just how vast and mysterious the ocean really is. USS Stein Monster. One of the biggest stereotypes when it comes to the ocean is that it inhabits monsters. It's a story as old as time itself, with the ocean itself playing home to thousands of species. It's pretty understandable. In fact, some estimates put the amount of plant life anywhere between 240,000 and 1.6 million. Considering we still don't know exactly every species of aquatic life, some discoveries have truly fascinated scientists to this day. One of them was dubbed the USS Stein Monster, and it was truly a marvel. Back in the 1970s, the United States Navy had built a frigate called the USS Stein. The frigate was a truly mechanical wonder. The Knox-class destroyer escort was 438 feet long overall, with a distance of 415 feet between its perpendiculars and a beam of 47 feet. It had 2 boilers, as well as a massive steam turbine and a 15-foot, 5-bladed propeller. Besides this, the vessel also had a Mark 42 gun forward, an 8-round ASROC launcher, and 4 anti-submarine torpedo tubes. The USS Stein was named after Tony Stein, a Marine who had gotten the Presidential Medal of Honor after his brave heroics at the Battle of Iwo Jima. She was thought to be indestructible at the time, and she definitely moved like she was. In 1978, the Navy took the USS Stein on a special operations mission in the Pacific Ocean. The mission took the vessel between Acapulco and Ecuador. However, while in transit, the USS Stein suddenly appeared to collide with a massive force. The collision appeared to be so strong that the ship had to immediately reroute to its home base, as its sonar navigation system sustained a massive deficiency. Unable to move or navigate through the waters, the USS Stein was forced to return to its home base and dock at a port close to California. There, engineers would be able to examine the ship to find the extent of the damage. But in the course of the examination, the engineers found something that was truly startling. As the discoveries went, engineers found that the rubber no-foul coating on the USS Stein's sonar dome had been shredded entirely. Massive tears covered up to 8% of the dome's surface, showing that the collision must have been a massive one. In fact, some of the tears measured up to 4 foot in length. Definitely, this must have been some hit. To make things even worse, the engineers found what seemed to be colossal hook marks at the bottom of most of the scratches. Some eyewitnesses also noted that it looked like a team of alligators had decided to go to town on this piece of technology. The hook marks caused experts to assert that the USS Stein had been attacked by some kind of sea creature. Terrified as they could be, they dubbed it the Stein Monster. To better understand the Stein Monster, the US Navy contracted biologist F.G. Wood to inspect the no-foul coating. Wood confirmed that the hook marks, or claw marks, as the case may be, would definitely have been the main reason there were such large tears on the coating. He also concluded that the Stein Monster was most likely a massive squid after he had inspected the structure of the marks. The only problem is that a giant squid would need to have been in the region of 150 foot in length to have caused the extent of that damage. Massive squids are usually in the range of 33 to 46 feet. So, to find one that is essentially half the size of the Statue of Liberty is pretty insane. So, what could it have been? Could it be Cthulhu? Or maybe it's the mythical Kraken, which stalks the seas and drags sailors to their doom? Who knows? To be fair, this doesn't necessarily prove that any massive Kraken-sized creatures actually exist. For one, Wood himself explained that it could easily have been some aquatic animal that humanity hadn't discovered at the time, and probably still hasn't been discovered today. And considering that there are potentially over 1 million species of sea animals that are still unknown to man, this makes a lot of sense. Whatever it was, the Stein Monster could easily have been one of the biggest animals ever to be discovered if it had been found at the time. Instead, it appears that the monster saw the size of the USS Stein and decided not to tussle with it just yet. The mysterious disappearing ship. Centuries ago, stories of maritime accidents and disasters on the high seas were commonplace. Some of them were myths, while others actually happened. However, the scariest of these stories definitely had to do with ships suddenly disappearing from the seas, never to be seen again. Due to the ambiguity surrounding disappearing ships, it was easy for many myths to spring up concerning what could have caused them. After all, it was impossible to actually search them to ascertain how strange these occurrences were. All this changed with the Marlborough. The Marlborough was a rigid, sturdy, iron-built, two-decked merchant sailing ship that hit the seas in 1876. It was mainly used to transport goods, primarily food and trade items, between countries, and soon gained popularity for its speed. Despite its massive size and speed, the Marlborough wasn't immune to the ravages of the sea. And in January 1890, the ship seemed to have its day. Departing from New Zealand, the Marlborough travelled to London to deliver cargo that included wool and frozen meat. It was under the command of one Captain Hurt, with a total crew count of 33 members and a few passengers on board. When the Marlborough left New Zealand, operations ran smoothly. However, after making contact with a fellow vessel called the Falkland Hill on January the 13th, it seemed to simply veer off the face of the planet. The Marlborough never got to its destination, and after a few months went by, it was listed as missing. No one had a clue what happened to the vessel, and it was assumed that it had been sunk by an iceberg hidden underneath the sea, along Cape Horn, with all cargo and crew members lost. In 1891, a rumour started making the round that a few shipwrecked sailors had been picked up close to Good Success Bay, a small shipping bay in the Tierra del Fuego province of Argentina. The sailors were said to be British, and some believed that they had been from the Marlborough. In light of the rumour, a rescue ship called the HMS Garnet was sent to the region to see if the Marlborough was indeed there. However, after scouring the area, the ship found no sign of the missing vessel. After this, there was no further mention of the Marlborough, and it was assumed to be lost forever. Suddenly, in October 1913, a report came that the vessel had been found. According to reports at the time, the ship was found by another British vessel named Johnson. It was reportedly drifting freely in the area of Punta Arenas in Chile. Explaining their discovery, the captain of the Johnson stated that they first made attempts to signal the Marlborough when they found it. From here, they searched it from afar with their glasses and couldn't find a single person. They saw the ship's masts and yards from afar, all green from decay. After a while, Johnson's first mate boarded the Marlborough with a few crew members. There, they met a chilling sight. Just underneath the wheel, they found the skeleton of a man. They saw 3 more skeletons in the hatchway, as well as the remains of about 10 bodies in the mess room. Another 6 bodily remains were found on the bridge, with one of them being alone, suspected to be Captain Hurt. The report was truly spectacular. Amongst other things, the fact that the skeletons were dispersed was quite interesting, with the crew members going about their daily routines only to be snuffed out by something mysterious. Did they all just waste away after spending years at sea with no indication of where they were? From the descriptions, it definitely seemed like they all passed away abruptly at the same time, and most likely due to the same thing. The million-dollar question is, what exactly happened? Nothing concrete can explain how the Marlborough's crew died, or how the ship was able to keep drifting for years in an area notorious for violent storms without being smashed against nearby rock formations or icebergs. The fact that other ships passing the area, as well as the residents of Punta Arenas, also didn't detect the Marlborough for such a long time is another mystery that deserves investigation. The Copenhagen disappearance. Still on the subject of sea vessels suddenly disappearing without a trace, we have the next candidate on the list, the Copenhagen. The Scandinavian sailing ship, the Copenhagen, was the largest of its kind when it hit the seas for the first time in 1921. While the ship was primarily a training vessel for prominent Danish men, it came with sailing masts 20 stories high, which was more than sufficient to take her on 2 trips around the world. As a training vessel, Copenhagen rarely travelled with so much cargo. However, on a fateful journey, the ship was tasked with transporting a light cargo of chalk and cement to Buenos Aires. Following a docking and unloading at the Argentinian city, Copenhagen was scheduled to travel to Australia for a stop-off. The journey, estimated to take about 7 weeks, was adequately staffed. Under the leadership of the noted Captain Hans Andersen, Copenhagen carried a small crew of 15, as well as 45 cadets, all from well-known Danish families. Per usual, there was only light cargo on the ship entirely. A few weeks after setting off from Buenos Aires, Copenhagen came across a Norwegian steamer around Tristan da Cunha Island in the South Atlantic. Captain Andersen gave the Norwegian ship an all-is-well signal and continued on its voyage. Interestingly, that was the last known signal ever given by the ship. After several weeks following this initial contact, Kubenhagen had still not been seen or heard from. This was the early 20th century, so radio technology was still in its infancy and wasn't as prominent as it is today. Also, Captain Anderson had developed a reputation for not being necessarily fond of using radios for communication. So, the Danish East Asiatic Company, which owned Kubenhagen at the time, wasn't so worried when they hadn't heard from the vessel. The weeks turned into months, and the Danish East Asiatic Company started to get worried. Kubenhagen was a massive investment for the company, so they were worried about its whereabouts. Add to this the pressure the company felt from the many families whose sons had been cadets on the vessel, and it's easy to see just how frantic they must have gotten. The Danish East Asiatic Company eventually launched a search mission around Tristan da Cunha Island, but after several months they found nothing. Rumours of a damaged ship around the area had been heard, but there was still no word from Captain Anderson or his crew. Eventually, the Danish East Asiatic Company had no choice but to declare the ship lost at sea. Still, the story didn't end there. A few months later, fishermen and sailors around Chile and Argentina reported finding a phantom ship that looked suspiciously like Kubenhagen. This led to speculation that the ship had gone down around this area and was now haunting it. Then, in 1934, men working in the South Atlantic reportedly found a message in a bottle from one of Kubenhagen's cadets. The message read that the vessel had hit an iceberg and the crew had taken lifeboats to save themselves. While there is no way to verify the note's authenticity, it gives credence to the prevailing thought that Kubenhagen had capsized in the Arctic Ocean. Some also believe the ship must have sunk in a massive storm, since it didn't hold much cargo. Whatever the case, Kubenhagen has never been seen again. It remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries of the modern world, one that we might never truly get to the bottom of. The sea is one of the strangest parts of our planet. Its size and grandeur are unexplainable, and the secrets that it holds are truly awe-inspiring. As the world continues to evolve, thinking about the many things still held up in the sea is an exciting thought indeed. So, what did you think? Is there a kraken-like monster out there that attacked the USS Stein? What could have happened to the crew aboard the Marlborough all those decades ago? Let us know in the comments.